The Bible says, give diligence to make your calling and election sure. For if you do these things, ye shall never fall. So it's possible to walk a Christian life and not fall. Hello? It's possible to begin and finish well in the life of salvation. And this is what he has promised us, that if you make your calling and election sure, you shall never fall. When the Bible says, do all diligence to make thy calling and election sure, the Greek word calling means invitation. The call is to invite you to participate in a great responsibility. And the election is the picking out of the called. You say, look, many are called, but few are chosen. The word therefore chosen is the same word election. Wherever the Lord has ordained you, whatever you have done, there's a bigger purpose. If your parents invested all of that much money for you to become a development student, how much do you think God has invested in you for the sake of the kingdom? Which is bigger? The Bible says, before he formed me in my mother's womb, he knew me and he's called me. The work God began in your life for the call is older than your existence. Your parents began when you were born in this cosmos. God began way before you were born. The work to perfect this thing that you're going to be has been there way before even your mother and father met. What a God. When you go to Corinthians, Paul speaks about three things that the calling of God is not about. He says, brethren, for all of you regard your calling. Not many of you are noble, not many of you are mighty, and not many of you are wise. You're not qualified because you're a great graduated student. Otherwise, the best students in class would be the best pastors. Otherwise, the best scientists in the world, they'll be the prophets of our day. But he says it's not human wisdom. And he says, it's not about might. It's not how strong you are. Not only just physical strength, but there are many things that come and define for might. He says, it's not about that might either. And he says, it's not even about the family you are born. It's not whether you came from a noble family, or you came from a poor family, or you came from an indifferent family, or a dysfunctional family. God does not look at those things when he's calling a man. There was somebody better, but he called you. Calling is a calling to self. God calls you to himself. And the calling is to the end of your sanctification into obedience, the purification of your conscience, the preparation for the commission. He has called you to himself. That's where our security should be, in what God has called us to be. In Hebrews chapter 11, the Bible says, it took Moses a place of maturity for him to say, I refuse to be called the son of the daughter of Pharaoh, choosing rather to suffer affliction with the people of God than to enjoy the pleasures of sin for the moment. For he esteemed the reproach of Christ's greater riches better than the treasures that were in Egypt, for he had respect unto the recompense. He had respect. When a man gets into that zone of the respect of recompense, there are certain things you refuse to be called. There are certain people you refuse to associate with. There are certain people you choose to associate with. Many of you, when God started to align you to the call of your life, certain people left your life. When you're called of God, you will lose certain friends. There are certain things you can allow to be called, but as you mature, there are certain things you refuse to be called. That's respect unto the recompense. Do you know that where you've reached now, your WhatsApp, your Facebook profile is an altar? It's no longer just a status. It's an altar. Listen, whatever you have now as a tool, it's an altar. And in any way, it should be preaching the gospel. Respect the recompense. You're a king now. You're a queen now. Put things that befit royalty. Things that are modest. Write those things down. Stretch forth. Understanding faith. Let somebody read your status and feel God minister to them. Moses transitions through the life. He respects the recompense. He refuses to be called the son of the daughter of Pharaoh. He esteemed the reproach of Christ's greater riches than the treasures that were in Egypt. And then we see by God that this boy that was born by the Jews, God allows the parents to put him on a basket to land in the hand of the Egyptian, goes to royalty into the house. He gets to know Pharaoh, understands the language, understands the wisdom, gets skilled in their way. And God calls him out of that comfort and then separates him to reveal himself to him. And God gives him the responsibility of redeeming a whole nation. God knew that he needed an Egyptian mind, an Egyptian language, an Egyptian character, an Egyptian culture. Get it on a man, anoint him. That's the only way the nation would be saved. The calling of God. New Testament dispensation, similar thing. God knew that Paul would take the gospel to the Gentile. What does he do? Even though he's a Jew, he takes him to the Gentile. He goes in Tarsus, Cilicia. He understands the wisdom of the Gentile, the culture of the Gentile, the language of the Gentile, everything that pertains to the Gentile. He takes him in Jerusalem. He gets the law, understands the law. Then from there, he has an encounter on the way to Damascus, separates himself further. He goes into Arabia, comes back with the understanding, submits it to Peter and James. Immediately, the guy goes and then serves the Gentile. So you start to see that God raises him where he later would serve his purpose. You see the example of Moses and the great minister. You see the example of Paul and the great minister, and you still think it's a mistake that you are born in Uganda. It's a mistake that you speak your mother tongue. It's a mistake that you dwell among your own people. I took diligence and I studied every step the Lord had on my life, and I realized there was never a mistake. All things work together for good for them that love the Lord and they are called according to his purpose. Why are you a Ugandan? Why is your color like this? Why are you changing it? He has a reason why he gave you that language. He has a reason. There was a bigger purpose why you went in that particular school. If you take diligence to study your story, you will see God knitting you together to where you're supposed to go. God has not made mistakes on you, and he will not make. He has a report and plan for your life. As a believer, you have to go back and study and ask yourself the ultimate question. Many of you, you'll get direction for your next place of ministry.